Welcome to today's lecture. The topic for today's discussion is a poem entitled as The Boat Ride, written by Arun Kolatkar. Today we will deal with the present poem, The Boat Ride. Let's begin. Arun Balkrishna Kolatkar was born in 1932 and took his last breath in 2004. Was an advanced grade Indian English poet who wrote with equal competence in both his mother tongue, Marathi, and English. He was born in Kolhapur, Maharashtra, where his father was an officer in educational department, and he was from a patriarchal Hindu family. Kolatkar is compared with Asim Ezekiel and Salman Rushdie. These are two famous names in Indian writing in English. And Kolatkar received Commonwealth Writers' Prize in 1977. He also received Sahitya Academy Award in 2004 for his poetry collection, that is basically Wahi. As we know that each and every poet has his own specialty regarding writing. So Arun Kolkar's writing style is somewhat distinct, somewhat special, and he reveals meaninglessness of life, loss of identity, revenge motive, and superstitious attitude in his poetry. As I said earlier, that he is a bilingual poet, uh, writing in Marathi and English also. His poems are totally different in structure, themes, and styles. Kulatkar's poetry thus valorizes the everyday acts of living of the ordinary, non-privileged people. And Kulatkar's work is always on the local and the particular, even and it interacts with the global. So local things you can see in his poetry, but this local thing is highlighted with the global significance. The image of Kolatkar. In the beginning, he started his career as a graphic designer, and he also tried himself at the advertising world until 1960s. Since 1960, he started writing poems. Later on, he received about discussion with other poets like Vilas Sarang, Dilip Chitrak, and Vinda Karandikar. Kolatkar is famous for his dark humor, especially his Jesuri collection of poetry is full of dark humor. Here, dark humor means humor is created with some kind of taunt raised by the poet. Kolatkar's work seems purely from observation. Most of his poems are nothing but observation made by the poet himself. Jesuri, this anthology, indeed presents the observations made by the poet, right? His observations of the priest, his observations regarding the first journey, his observation regarding temple Jesuri, and each and everything regarding the temple, right? We saw his observation skill in his previous poem, that is the Blue Horse. And so, simple type observation you can see in the poems by Kolatkar. The present poem also is nothing but the observation made by the poet himself, that is the boat ride. The present poem is very lengthy, right? So, as I told you, that the poet was on some boat journey near Mumbai's sea, and he was accompanied with many other co-passengers in that boat, and the boatman was just for a fun, and the poet just entered into that boat and just observed the activities of the co-passengers, the activities of the foreman, and the activities of the sea also. Right? And whatever he has seen over there, he just tried to reflect in the present poem, that is the boat ride. So, if you go through the poem, right, there is a description of the boat ride, the co-passengers, their activities, right, like that. So, it would be more convenient to go through the poem after the lecture is over, because if you go through line by line, and it would take a great time also. And see, if you this is the first page, second page, third page, fourth page, fifth page, sixth page, seventh page, eighth page, ninth page, and this is the page number 10. So a quite lengthy poem it is, and it is not practicable to go through each line. Okay? So I would appeal you to go through the poem after the lecture is over, and if you have any problem, then we would discuss. But if you go through the other related things regarding the poem, I would feel that there would be no matter of problem to you people. Let's go towards the main discussion of the poem. See the title, that is the boat ride. I just call this poem as an empty poem. Empty poem in the sense that the present poem is nothing but a list of observation, a list of observation made by the poet. The present poem has no specific theme. No specific theme is there. No topic is there at all. Just the poet gets into a boat full of passengers and he observes. And whatever he observes, he just includes that thing in the poem. That's it. Right? Why he is observing, we don't know. Right? So the poem is without any specific theme, any specific topic. It's a general observation made by the poet. The poem also has no specific idea, right? No theme, no specific idea, right? So it is just a series of observations. What this man is doing, what this co-passenger is doing. The poet just shares that observation with us through the poem. That's the thing. So it is just an account of a journey by boat undertaken by the poet with other people. It is a pleasure trip. The poet is not going some a particular spot, right? He hires that boat like a passenger like others, and he just has a fun ride on that boat near India Gate. Right? As we know that India Gate is situated in Maharashtra. Right? So if you happen to go at the India Gate seashore, many boats are available for boat ride, right? And the poet enjoys one of such boat rides and make some observations. So it's a pleasure trip for fun undertaken by the number of people wanting to have a test of sailing upon the sea from one point on the shore to the another. It's a fun ride. So the last point is India Gate. So I call this poem as an empty poem because it has no specific theme, no specific topic, no specific message in it. Right. So the boat passengers have to pay a certain fare to the foreman. Here foreman means the boatman. Nawadi we call it in Marathi. Foreman. The poem gives a description of the trip which the boat makes. So description of a trip on a boat. That's it. But this description is not detailed one. A scattered type of discussion is there. The poet describes this passenger. Again, poet starts describing the sea. In the next line, the poet starts describing the shaking position of the boat. In the next line, the poet describes the other passengers. Right. So no rhythm, no systematic pattern is followed in the present poem. It's just an observation. Right. Again, abruptly the poet starts describing the birds which are following the boat. Right. So description is not detailed one. Nothing seems to happen during the trip. That's the thing. Nothing remarkable happens. It is just an observation, and observation. It can be called as a travel experience of the poet himself on a boat. There is no particular incident in the poem also. Just what is saying, on a boat, watching here and there, and recording all these observation in the form of poem. That's it. Nothing more than that happens in the present poem, right? And the co-passengers in the boat, they are just behaving like ordinary people, right? And we don't find any kind of significant or remarkable happening during that journey. No such thing is there. So the poem is in a narrative form, is description of a boat ride. That's it. So ordinary readers find it very little of any interest. We don't find any interest in the poem. It is just an observation made by the poet of the boat passengers. Yes, nothing more than that. So the poet fails to attract our attention, right? And it also fails to create some kind of interest in our mind. So no interest in the poem as it is without a proper theme. That's why we can call this poem as an empty poem. As I told you that the boat is hired by the co-passengers, including the poet himself, and the poet describes the activities of the co-passengers. Right? The cells, I'm just describing the activities observed by the poet one by one. If you go through the poem, you would just have a list of activities. This man is doing this person is doing that. That's it. So the remarkable or let's say the important activities I'm just elaborating with you people. The sails of the boat are unfurled. Unfurled means the boat is on the journey now. Unfurled. Some wooden cloth is there at the top of the boat. You might have seen that thing. The जहाज असतं बघा, right? जहाजाला मोठा कापड बांधलेला असतो टॉपला, राईट? तो ओपन करण्यात येतो. तिथे हवा अडकते आणि जहाज ते पुढे पुढे सरकतं. That is called unfurled, means opened. The sails of the boat are unfurled, means the boat is ready to go. An abrupt flight of number of pigeons, कबूतर म्हणतो आपण त्याला, from the spot takes place as soon as the boat moves. So the boat is followed by a group of pigeons. The foreman of the boat sits self-conscious by the side of his spouse. So the foreman with his family, right? He is attracting the passengers to board his boat. So gold and sunlight fight for the possession of the woman's throat. So a woman is sitting over there, and that woman is holding some gold ornaments, right? And sunlight is also falling on the neck part of that woman, and the poet imagines that the sunlight and the golden jewelry both are trying to take the possession of the throat of the woman. Then the next activity is that the foreman speaks boastfully. The foreman, Mr. Nawadi, right, the owner of that boat, boastfully says that he is very exceptionally skilled person, right? Means he is a good type of foreman. Uh, One more passenger is there, that is an old man. He is quite timid. Timid means afraid of. That man is afraid of the sea, right? And he is with many grandchildren with him, and he warns the grandchildren that if you make a noise or if you move here and there, then probably they would fall into the sea. It would be very dangerous for them, right? So the old man asks the grandchildren to keep mum and to be silent. Uh, Foreman's wife is there, and foreman is dominated by the wife. The wife scolds the foreman, and she speaks authoritatively and categorically like a queen. So the foreman must have been afraid of his own wife, right? And the wife guides the foreman, right? And speaks in a harsh way with the foreman in spite of the passengers' attention. One more activity is there, that is a 2-year child on the boat who is with his mother and father demands balloons, and he demands balloons from his father, right? And the father gives him some balloons, and one balloon is cracked by the child. That's the activity. The next is what? Two sisters, the co-passengers, two sisters who had got into the boat last of all. They sit silently, just looking past and the boatman at the sea. So the two sisters just silently observe the activities of the boatman. So all these things are highlighted by the poet in the present poem. So the poet also describes the events in the poem at the ending part, right? So which are the ending parts, ending events in the poem? Let's discuss. The boat is marching towards India Gate, a spot which is at the end of the journey. So the when boat approaches at the gateway of India, it seems to be shaky. Shaky means it moves up and down, because it is not as the boat is sailing on the sea. The sea is not stable, and as the sea is not stable, the boat is also fails to get itself as a stable, right? But it does not lose its balance. Shaky, म्हणजे वर खाली होणे. लाटांमुळे काय होतं, की बोट वर खाली होत असते, राईट? जणू काही ती बोट उलटी होईल त्या समुद्रामध्ये, पण तसं काय होत नाही, right? But it not lose its balance. A man is playing on a string instrument on one of the several empty boats which stand beside the shore. So the boat reaches at the final destination, that is the gateway of India, and there is a line of many boats which are empty. And in one of the boats, one man is sitting and playing on a string instrument, tuntuna, we call it in Marathi, which is standing beside the shore. The passengers now start getting down from the boat at the landing place. You must have seen the landing place, right? Which is paved, which is made of stones, but on which shells lie scattered. Shells, shankha, scattered, seeming to threaten the passengers. So the passengers are now getting down from the boat. A solid platform is there. It is made of stones, right? As the waves come there, right? The waves bring some kind of shells with them, and these shells are scattered on that platform of stones. And the poet imagines that these shells might be threatening to the passengers. The deck of India seems somewhat unsteady. Here, unsteady here means the boat is in shaking position, right? Boat is moving like up, like down, up and down is there. And the poet imagines that during that moment, if somebody looks at the India Gate, it imagines, it makes a picture that India Gate is also shaking, it's also moving. I personally, it's not a reality, So somewhat unsteady for a moment, but recovers its equilibrium immediately. But recovers its balance. The poet is cracking a joke like that. So the present poem is full of imagery. Many images are used by the poet in the present poem. As you know that imagery is nothing but the use of the figurative language. Uh, it creates a picture with the help of the words. The poet appeals to our sense of sight, taste, smell, touch, and sound with the help of imagery. So, imagery is nothing but visual presentation, or it creates a mental picture in our mind. So, the poet creates some kind of a situation or tries to set up some object, some person, or something right in before our eyes with the help of the words. That is called image. So many images are created by the poet. That is Foreman and his wife. You can imagine a Nawari, right? And his wife both swearing off the shore and leaving behind the dispersions of the sea. बोट जेव्हा पुढे सरकते तेव्हा ते पाणी चिरत जातं बघा तो सीन आपण इमॅजिन करू शकतो तर काय winds bargaining over the shrunken head of the chimney that we are having several grandchildren. So this activity we can imagine. The wife dismissing the waves with the authority of a queen. So a woman who is scolding his husband, that is her husband, that is the former. You can imagine this kind of situation. A 2-year-old child leaves his mother's lap and manages to go to his father to demand balloons. You can imagine the situation. Two sisters sitting side by side on a plank. Silently plank means the outline of that boat where the seats are available. Silently with their hands on their laps, watching the sea, though not ignoring the wrinkles on the foreman's face. You can imagine all these activities. So with this, we conclude the discussion of the present poem, that is the boat ride. As I told you that nothing happens special in the present poem. It is just a list of the activities of the co-passengers in the present poem. And we don't have any kind of justification why the poet has written this poem. The intention of the writing this poem is nothing but a great secret, and the poem. That's why fails to create a sense of interest in our mind. When we start reading such kind of poem, we just have a list of the activities by the co-passengers. Nothing more than that. I hope that you must have understood the poem, that is the boat ride by Arun Kolatkar. Let's stop over here. Thank you.